So last day we have started discussing about concept of function in C, and basically we have seen that we have four different approach for writing the function for the same purpose, right? We have also seen the concept of uh, function prototype and how we can use that in the program. Now if we discuss this part, we have discussed that, consider that the sum fun the if I consider that we have a main function, at the same time we have another function sum, then how they communicate with each other, right? And here, the way by which we are passing the value from main function to the sum function, we have seen that that is actually what we call parameter, right? This one. Now if we go in a little more detail about these parameters, you will see that there is two things in any function, any program having a function. For example, take this particular situation, this example. Okay, it's a under case one. If you remember the four different cases that we have discussed, so I hope you can easily understand this is under case one, because the main function is uh, you know uh, giving the data with which the operation will be done to the sum function, as well as sum function is also returning the result to the main function. So now you see, in this particular programming, you see, regarding the function call and the function definition part, if you see, that means this particular line and this particular line, if you see that, you will have in this side you have a and b, and in this side x and y, and I have said that we have some parameters. The question is that parameters should be, true for at the time of calling of the function and at the time of defining the function also, right? So from this point, the parameters, can be defined in actually two ways. So the parameter that we are talking about in the last day, the parameter can be categorized in two ways. One is called actual parameter, and another is called formal parameter. So now question is that, what is this actual parameter, how we can define this? uh, we can say that we can say that the uh, variable that is passed from the called function at the time of calling the child function is called actual parameter. And just in opposite way, you can say that the variable that is used to accept the values from the called function in the child function is called formal parameter. So if we go back to the previous diagram over here, you see that, let's go back to here, that when I call this sum function, I pass this a and b, right? And at the time of defining this sum function, we have written that int x and int y. So basically, with respect to diagram, we can understand that whatever value of a should be copied to this x and whatever value of b will be copied into y. And that means the value of a and x will be same, value of b and will be same. But technically, these two part we call as actual argument, sorry, just a minute. It's called actual parameter, whereas these two variable is called formal parameters. But you don't mix up, I mean, don't be confused with this, the definition, because ultimately the value of the formal parameter and actual parameter is same because the data is copied from here to here. Okay. But the technically we can differentiate between these two parameters by the two different name. One we call actual parameter and another we call formal parameter. Why actual? Because ultimately the data is present in this a and b, and we are using this x and y to temp to store temporarily the value of a and b. That's why they are called formal. Now, last day we have, when we started discussing about the function, we have considered that we have a main function, and from main function a sum function is called. Now question is that, is it always necessary that every time function will be called from the main only? Actually, the situation is not so, straightforward. I mean, you can have any number of function call from any other function in the program. What I mean to say is that, suppose there is a company, for example, something like this. Let's take a situation like, we have a, suppose there is a I mean, some user is here. User has, you know this will interact with the main function. That is true, because main function is the first guard, and whatever present within the main function, user don't have any idea, because user has given the data and user wants data to as a result. Now what this main function is doing, this main function can call two different function, say fun1 and fun2. Now as a programmer, when we write a program, and if the program is becoming too complex, then what we do, we actually try to modularize the program. Modularize in the sense that we try to keep small number of code within a particular function, and for that purpose, if I require n number of functions to write, we write that, so that the complexity of the code decreases. Complexity in the sense, writing all the functionality in a single function will be easier to will be, I mean, critical to realize than writing, distributing the functionality into n number of functions. For example, consider your class, that you have a particular one student, for example your class representative, who has all the job given by all the different teachers. So what he or she will do, he or she, whoever the seer is, will have a lot of pressure that he has to do my job, he has to do some other person's job, and like that. Now if that particular student call some of other students from your class and just distribute some of the functionality, some of the responsibility to them, then naturally the workload of that particular seer or the student will be minimized. So just assume that all you are basically are representing a function. In a similar way, if we put all the functionality, if we try to put all the functionality in a particular function, the workload of the function will be very, difficult, very high. As a result, what will happen? If there is some error, some wrong code present in that particular line, it will be very difficult to, find the root of the error. Instead that, what we can do, we can try to distribute the job into several functions. Obviously they will be called in some particular order, depends on the logic. Okay, but ultimately what will happen, it will be easier to understand the code for some other people. That is why we can say that somehow in the main function I have called this one. How? Let's write a very simple, just a very simple example code. For example, I have written a main function here, and within the main function again I have some lines, and here I have called the fun1 function. Okay, and some other lines here there, and again then here I call fun2 function. Something like this. Okay. Now naturally I have to define this fun1 function. I don't know what type of function it is. It may be void, it may return something. I'm not interested for what type of under which category this fun1 and fun2 is coming. In this particular slide, I am interested that how they are interconnected with each other with respect to calling and returning. Okay, so now if we define this fun1 function, it may happen that fun1 function has a lot of responsibility. So as a programmer, what we can do, we can distribute the responsibility into many other child functions within the fun1 function. For example, from the fun1 I can call another function fun3, and maybe some more code, and then I can call fun4, something like this. And at the same time, when we will define the fun2 function, it's there that maybe there is some code within the fun2 function, and I have called another function fun5, which is, so what I have done, I have distributed some responsibility to this fun2 fun5 function that basically will help fun2. So now what will happen, if this particular code is written, then question is that how the workflow will work. Workflow in the sense that user has contacted to the main function. What does it mean? Practically, if you say that you are trying to write, just running a program, and user has given some input. Okay, I'm not interested about what exactly input is, because I have not really written any logic over here. So some input user will give, fine. And you see we all know that instruction execution, by the way. So one thing is clear, that let's realize it without calling first. Okay. Let's realize. So this is a situation that main user has contacted the main function, and it has not yet got the result. Something like this. Situation is like this, right? Now within the main function, obviously the execution will start line by line, and these two lines present within the main function, it will execute, and then compiler will see, or the computer will see, that there is a function call, right, in this particular line to function 1. So what will happen? Presently, before calling this function fun1, the instruction of main function was executed within the processor. So processor, that mean, in other words, basically you can say that main function is holding the whole. I mean, is actually, main function has hold on the processor. Main function has hold on the processor means the processor is running the instruction of the main function. And when the computer will see there is a function call, so naturally this particular function has to execute first, and then other part of the main function will execute. So what will happen? The main function will become paused for some time, and from here the function 1 will be called, right? Function 1 will be called. I'm sorry, it should be function 1. I should write function 1. Function 1 will be called. So let's, and just so to realize that the order of the calling, let's keep it numbering. So it's 1. I'm sorry, this is 1. User has called it, and then no, no, it's not required. This number 1 is not required because you cannot visualize this part. Anyway, so this is 1. Fine. Now, as soon as this function 1 will be called, that means now the processor don't have any control on this main function. Now what the processor will do? The processor will start executing the instruction of fun1 function, right? So naturally processor will execute the first 2 line of the fun1 function, and then again processor will find a function call. So what will happen? In a similar way, like from main fun1 was called, from the fun1 this fun3 will be called. Number 2, and user, and right that moment processor will now become busy with this function 3. Anyway, I have not written the definition of function 3, 4 and 5. So if we just think that function 3, 4, 5 are very simple functions, something like function 3 looks something like this. Some set of lines is there, and that's all. Similarly, function 4, some set of line is there, and similarly function 5, some another set of line is present, some another set of code actually. So from this function 3, 4, 5 we can see one thing, that they are not calling any more function. That's clear, right? So that means there is nothing to call from function 3 below. So basically what will happen, that when from function 1 function 3 was called, and function 3 will execute, the processor will execute the code of function 3, and after completion of this code, what will happen? For example, assume that I have some job, and a part of the job I have given to you. So when I will give the job to you, you will continue, you will do the job and you will complete that, and then what will happen? The result somehow will return to me. Result return does not mean that you will always return result to me. I want to say that somehow the control will come back to me. The control of what? Control of the processor. That means control of the processor was initially on main. When from main fun1 was called, control of the processor has jumped to main fun1 function. Then from fun1 we have seen fun3 function as called. So control of the processor jumped from fun1 to fun3 function, and fun3 function completes. So naturally this fun3 now will return back to the fun1 function. What will return back? The control will return back. Data may return back or may not, depends on that whether the function is a void function or having some proper return type. That's so return type tell you that whether the function is going to return some result or not. But here we are not concerned about returning about result. We are concerned about returning the control of the processor to this function. So whether fun3 will return some result to the fun1 function or not, that will depend upon the return type of the function. But whatever the return type does not matter, the control must return back. For example, why I am saying this one, because if you see, for example, this case number here, for example, this case, you see AB was given 10 and 20, then sum was called, and this sum is void function, so naturally it will not return anything. We say that it will basically add two number and print the result. Now question is that from where the execution started? Execution started from main function, right? Not from some function directly. Since execution started from main function, always remember execution will end at main function also. The function that is called at the beginning of the execution, the end of the execution will also happen after coming back in that function. So according to that logic, the function 3 must return the control to function 1. Fine. Because if the function 3 does not return the control to function 1, then never function 2 will be called. Because function 3 has not called function 2. Function sorry, I'm sorry, I had a mistake. If function 3 does not return to function 1, then this function 4 will never execute. Because function 3 has not called function 4. Function 1 has called. Now at the time of calling function 3, we have seen the control go to the function 1 to function 3. And after completion of this function 3 code, the control return back to function 1. That's why it will execute these 3 code of the function 1 again. And again processor will see there is a function call. That is a function 4. So basically it will call function 4. Let's keep it numbering. So return, I'm also numbering this return, that is 3 and this is 4. In a similar way, we have seen that function 4 also have some set of instruction, but there is no more calling of any other function. So after completion of the instructions in function 4, again the control of the processor will go back from function 4 to function 1 again. Why to function 1? Because always remember, it's a very important point that function returns exactly from where, I'm sorry, from where it was called. Always it returns over there. Since function 1 has called function 4, that's why function 4 will return to function 1, not in main directly, because main has not called function 4. Now after completion of this, after returning back the function 4, the job of the, the all the responsibility of the function 1 has completed, right? Since all the responsibility of function 1 will complete it, that means the control of the now function 1 finished. So naturally the control will now go back to the parent of function 1, and parent of function we all know that is main. because from main the function 1 was called. So what will happen now? Control will go back to the main function. Okay, let's numbering it 5 and this is 6. And after returning back over here in the main function, these 2 or 3 instructions are there, you can see somehow will execute, assume. Fine. And after doing this, the processor will see that again I have a function call. So what will happen? It will call another function here again, that is function 2. And now what will happen? As soon as the function 2 will be called, the control of the processor will jump from main to function 2 and the code of the function 2 will start executing. So some set of lines of code will execute over here and then processor will again see that I have a function call again from function 2. So processor will call a function fun5 as specified in the program, and we can see from the definition of function 5 that it's basically some set of instructions, there is no more calling. So naturally the function 5 will complete at some point of time and then then it will return to where? It will return to function 2 because from function 2 it was called. By the way, let's write numbering it first. This is 7 and this is 8, and after completion of these it will return back to function 2 again. And you see, after returning back to function 2, some set of code that is left to execute in the function 2, that will execute. And after executing, all the responsibility of the function 2 completes. If all the responsibility of the function 2 completes, the control will return back to the main again because from the main it was called. The control will return back to main. And you see, if I still assume that I have some set of code again here, I have some set of code present here after returning back to function 2, then what will happen? Then basically it will execute this code within the main function and somehow it will print the result, that we can understand. So the result will be reflected to the user. So this is a, you can say, a very clear picture about the strategy of calling and returning of various functions present in any program. It may happen your program structure will look something like this in future, because it's not true that it's never true actually that you will have only one function and that will execute all the job. You may have n number of functions. That n can be 2, can be 20, can be 200. Depends upon the complexity of the problem and obviously some other parameters. Whatever the number of functions in your program does not matter, but the strategy of calling and returning and relation in between them will look something like this. So we have just discussed here that if we have a structure of a code something like this, and then how one function will call other function and how they are returning, what is the order of that. So if you have a very clear idea about their relation within a particular program, then it will be very easy to write a code using this function or realizing how this function is interacting with each other in a particular program.